Life by Dr. Pat. Leading innovation in fertility excellence.
Deep dive into reproduction with life by Dr. Pat.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know, if you're here, it probably means you're on the fertility journey and getting ready for sperm collection. And let's face it, that can feel like a ton of pressure, am I right, to get everything just perfect. So today we're going to dive into some advice. It's coming straight from a Thai fertility clinic. It's called Come Out Life by Dr. Pat. Yeah. We found this article from Dr. Pat himself, and it's all about getting ready for collection day. The title's a little tough to say in Thai, but it basically means get ready for semen collection. One thing that really caught my eye, he recommends this 272 method. It sounds kind of like a secret code, right? So we're going to break it all down. What it means. And the science behind it. So you know why it actually works.
It's clear.
Following instructions is one thing. But when you actually understand the why, it can make the whole thing feel less stressful and more like you're in control. I totally agree. Speaking of control, Dr. Pat actually starts out by describing sperm production as this really complex factory. He even uses the word warehouse, which I thought was such a great visual. Like you've got this constant creation of new sperm happening.
Then they're stored.
And then, well, you get the idea.
What I find so interesting here is that warehouse idea actually reflects what's happening in your body, like biologically. It's not just storage. It's like this dynamic place where the sperm is maturing and gaining the ability to move, which is obviously super important for fertilization. And just like in a real warehouse, keeping everything fresh and organized is key if you want it to work properly.
Okay, so that brings us to this whole 272 thing. At first glance, it just seems like some random code. But when you understand what's happening in the warehouse, it starts to make a lot more sense. So can you walk us through the logic behind it?
Absolutely. So think about it like this. Older sperm, they're more likely to have damaged DNA, or they might not be as good as swimming. And that first two in our method. It's about getting rid of that older sperm. How? By ejaculating every 2 days for a week. Before the big day.
Oh, so you're basically clearing out the old stock to make room for the new batch.
Exactly. And that's where that 7 comes in. It's all about consistently refreshing the inventory for a whole week. This helps build up a supply of healthier sperm. You know, the ones that are better swimmers, the ones with the best shot at reaching the egg.
Okay, got it. Clearing out the old, bringing in the new. But why the final 2? Why not just keep that fresh batch coming right up until collection time?
Well, you can actually have sperm that's too fresh. The last 2 means abstaining for no more than 2 days before collection. This makes sure you've got a good amount of sperm built up. But they're not just sitting around getting too old in the warehouse.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between quality and quantity.
You got it. And Dr. Pat, he says he sees great results with this method. He actually claims it can boost sperm motility to something like 80%. And just so you know, average sperm motility is usually between 40% and 60%. So 80% is a pretty big jump.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right. And motility is directly related to how well sperm can fertilize an egg.
So that increase could really help boost your chances of success. That's encouraging. But I'm guessing everyone's biology is a little different.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So this isn't like a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, it's not a magic bullet. While the 272 method is based on solid science, it's always best to talk to your own doctor. They can look at your medical history and your specific circumstances and give you the best advice for how to prep for sperm collection.
It's all about finding what works for you. And what I think is so cool about this is we're not just blindly following some method. We're really understanding the why behind it. Yeah. And I think that can make the whole thing feel a lot more empowering.
I think so too. That sense of empowerment can make a big difference when you're facing something that could be stressful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does change how you think about it, doesn't it?
For sure. And speaking of science, Dr. Pat's article goes beyond just this 272 method. He also talks about lifestyle choices, things that can really impact sperm health. So what kind of things does he recommend?
Well, first and foremost, he's a big believer in a balanced diet, lots of fruits and veggies, especially ones that are packed with antioxidants like vitamin C and E.
So it's not just about being healthy in general. There are specific nutrients that actually protect the sperm.
Exactly. Antioxidants. Think of them like little bodyguards for your sperm. They fight off these harmful molecules called free radicals, which can really mess with sperm DNA. He also warns against things like too much alcohol and smoking, which honestly aren't good for anything.
Yeah, those are usually on the don't list for pretty much everything health-related.
True. But when it comes to sperm specifically, studies have shown that smoking can actually lower sperm count ADD motility And heavy drinking can mess with your hormone levels, which affects both how much sperm you produce and the quality.
So it really is about taking care of your whole body, inside and out. Now, I know you're big on stress management. Does Dr. Pat talk about that at all?
He does. Actually, there's a whole section on it. See, when we're stressed, our bodies release cortisol. And that hormone can actually interfere with testosterone production, which is really important for healthy sperm development.
So stress can really mess things up.
It can. And it's not just like big life events. Even those everyday anxieties can keep your cortisol levels up and potentially affect your sperm health over time. I've even had patients who see a difference in their sperm analysis after they've been through a really stressful time.
Wow. It's amazing how connected everything is. So finding ways to manage stress is so important, not just for our mental health, but for our sperm too.
Exactly. Whether it's exercise or meditation or just spending time in nature or listening to your favorite music. Prioritizing stress reduction is good for you on so many levels, including your fertility journey. And this actually brings up something really important.
Oh.
Well, Dr. Pat's article focuses on the guy providing the sperm. But it's crucial to remember that fertility is a shared experience. Supporting your partner emotionally through all of this can make a huge difference.
So true. It's a team effort.
All the way. And on the topic of the actual collection day, Dr. Pat has some practical tips for the process itself. He really emphasizes the importance of feeling relaxed and comfortable.
That makes sense. But how do you actually do that when you're at the clinic and potentially feeling stressed?
He suggests bringing things that might help create a more relaxed vibe and help with arousal, like a favorite magazine or a playlist of calming music, maybe even a video.
That's great. He's really acknowledging that it's not just about the physical procedure, it's about the mental and emotional side too.
Exactly. And this ties back into what we were saying about communication and support between partners. Feeling comfortable and understood can really help reduce anxiety and make the whole experience smoother.
It's about working together to create a positive and supportive environment. Before we move on, I wanted to go back to something you mentioned earlier about seeing how stress can actually impact sperm analysis. Do you have any advice for our listeners on how to manage those anxieties leading up to collection day?
That's a great question. In my experience, one of the best things you can do is focus on the things you can control. Stick to a healthy routine. Incorporate those stress-reducing activities we talked about. And communicate openly with your doctor and your partner. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the process in your own body, the less scary it will feel.
That's such a good point. It's not about getting rid of stress completely. It's about having the tools to manage it. Speaking of tools, I think Dr. Pat offers some really practical ones when it comes to the actual collection process.
Oh, for sure. One thing he emphasizes is staying hydrated. Showing up at the clinic well hydrated can help with semen volume.
That's such a simple but important tip.
Right. It's all about setting yourself up for success. And on top of the physical preparation, he also encourages men to practice mindfulness in the days and weeks leading up to the collection.
Mindfulness for sperm collection. Tell me more.
Well, studies have shown that mindfulness practices, like meditation and deep breathing exercises, can actually lower those stress hormones and improve sperm parameters, including motility and morphology, which is the shape and structure of the sperm.
So it's not just about the physical environment, it's also about having a calm and focused mind.
Exactly. There's more and more evidence showing that this mind-body connection plays a big role in overall reproductive health.
So adding these practices to your routine could really give those little swimmers an extra boost.
Absolutely. And it's something you can do right at home, which makes it super accessible and empowering.
You know what I really appreciate about Dr. Pat's approach is that it's not just about following a bunch of rules. It's about understanding your body, taking care of yourself holistically, and feeling like you're actively participating in this journey. It's not just about the sperm, it's about the whole person.
I couldn't agree more. It's about recognizing that our physical health, our mental health, and our emotional well-being are all connected, and they all play a role in a successful fertility journey.
Speaking of the journey, I'm curious about something. Dr. Pat's article is all about the male perspective. But what about the woman's experience? I imagine there's a whole other side to things.
Oh, definitely. I'd say the woman's role is just as important, if not more so. From going through fertility treatments to providing emotional support, her journey is filled with its own unique challenges and successes.
That's a really important point. So while we've been focusing on sperm collection prep today, we need to remember and support the woman's experience too.
Absolutely. Fertility is a shared journey, and both partners deserve to feel informed and empowered. and supported every step of the way.
Well said. So we've covered a lot today. The science behind sperm production, Dr. Pat's 272 method, how lifestyle and stress can impact things, practical tips for collection day, and even the power of the mind-body connection. I think we've given our listener a great toolkit for approaching this whole process with confidence.
Yeah, I think so. And if there's one thing I hope listeners take away, it's that knowledge really is power. When you understand the why behind the what, you can take control of your fertility journey and feel empowered to make choices that help you reach your goals.
Absolutely. It's about being an active participant, not just going along for the ride. And before we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with one last thought. We've talked a lot about optimizing sperm health, but what about the emotional side of things? It's such a personal and often challenging experience. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with the emotional ups and downs of fertility treatment?
It's so important. Your doctor isn't just there to tell you what to do. They're like your partner in this. They've got all the knowledge and expertise to help you figure things out, answer your questions, and deal with any problems that come up.
It's like having a guide on this crazy journey. It reminds me of something we were talking about earlier, about the mind-body connection. You know how our thoughts and feelings can actually affect our biology. Do you have any patients who've used mindfulness for sperm collection prep? What's it been like for them?
Yeah, actually, there's one guy I'm thinking of. He was super anxious about the whole thing. And at first, he was having trouble giving a sample at the clinic. So we talked about incorporating mindfulness into his routine, like deep breathing exercises and guided meditations, specifically for fertility. He wasn't sure about it at first, but after a few weeks, he said he felt much calmer and more centered. And guess what? His next collection went perfectly center.
That's amazing. It shows you how powerful these techniques can be. It's not just some new age thing. It's about training your mind to help your body through a tough situation.
Exactly. And I think it highlights how important a holistic approach to fertility is. It's not just about the physical stuff. It's about the mental and emotional aspects, too.
So we've learned a lot today. The science behind sperm production, Dr. Pat's 272 method, the effects of lifestyle and stress, tips for collection day, and even the amazing mind-body connection. I think we've armed our listeners with some great information so they can approach this process with confidence.
I agree. And if there's just one thing I want people to remember, it's that knowledge is power. When you understand the why behind what you're doing, you can really take charge of your fertility journey and make choices that help you reach your goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about being an active participant, not just sitting back and hoping for the best. Well, that brings our deep dive on sperm collection prep to an end. We hope you found it helpful and maybe even a little bit encouraging.
Remember, knowledge is power, and you got this. Take care of yourselves, both physically and emotionally, and don't hesitate to reach out for support if you need it.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those little swimmers
Leading.
swimming strong.
Innovation. Fertility. Excellence. Life by Dr. Pat. Leading innovation in fertility excellence.